This is one of those films I've been having to play catch up on. Not only is it in limited release, but the public transit system near where I live is in a bit of a funk because of a major construction project on a major road that the bus I normally take to both look at movies and to get to work has to pass through. So there's that. Since my new job allows me a little more free time, I've decided to use the days that I have free to look at a movie that I wasn't able to look at during the week of release. Will this become a regular thing? Who knows? Depends on demand. This film, while well-intentioned and drawing from some interesting subject matter, is a little unfocused. I mean, it starts out with a pretty straightforward story, but there are these moments and scenes where the film just kind of meanders on what tone it's trying to have and what kind of story it's trying to tell. There are beats and plot points here that feel ripped from so many other movies, and while I don't know if any of the stuff that we're actually shown happened in real life, because you should always take based on a true story films with a grain of salt, what we're left with is just moments of hollow characterization and lackluster motivations, almost kind of like the people making this film were trying to find some way to concoct quick, cheap, and easy drama because they didn't have faith in their own story. What hurts this film the most are the moments where they try to implement CGI, and it has got to be some of the worst visual effects I have seen in quite some time, and it plainly shows that they weren't even planning on using CGI in the first place when they were making this film, and were instead using it as some sort of band-aid, because it felt so out of place and so unpolished that you could immediately tell it was fake, and really, for a film that is basically a costume drama with very limited locations that is primarily focused on the acting, the moments where they try to implement CGI to create things like hallucinations, or even a very cheap, oh, we don't have a wall that's long enough, so let's green screen it, it just feels out of place. On top of that, there were also times where the shot composition just didn't really work, didn't make a lot of sense, like there wasn't a lot of thought to it. It was almost like I was watching all of the bad takes, the takes that just didn't work, but they had to use because they were the only ones they had. And that was for certain scenes where it just felt like, oh, well, they probably had better shots, but this was probably the only take they could use. But at other times, it felt like they were trying to be artistic when the scene and beats and where we were in the story didn't really warrant it. As for the acting, you have a high-quality cast here, and the characters they're given do have some semblance of personality, some semblance of quirks. They feel like real people that actually have backstory. However, there are moments where the writing just feels like it's trying to convey obvious information to an audience that doesn't understand nuance to such an insulting degree, while at the same time not addressing some of the actual issues that would come up as a result of the actions taken by some of the characters in this film. Simply put, this film resorts to using stereotypes in order to create a sense of conflict instead of trying to find actual conflict within the story they're trying to tell. Also, for a story that depicts higher level mathematics, they don't do a very good job of making that subject matter interesting to an audience. It's so focused on telling an underdog story that the accomplishments they do depict aren't depicted in a way that makes them relatable or even explained in a way to make an audience care. I really wanted to like this movie because I find the subject matter very fascinating, but there are just way too many problems with its execution to warrant any recommendation of any kind. I mean, if you're watching it on TV in passing, it's okay for that, I guess. But when you look at the actual details of the life of the real Srinivasa Ramanujan, you'll find that this film doesn't really do him any real justice. And it's a real shame because you have really good actors, and you can tell that there was some passion put into this, but it felt like the people making this film didn't have enough faith in the story they were trying to tell that they had to try copying so many other films at the same time. All of that said, The Man Who Knew Infinity gets a 3 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.